When the Civil War started in 1983, you were very young, 3 or 4 years old, I think?
I was 3 years.
You were 3 years old. How was it like growing up in such a situation?
I've never known that there will be a day that I'll relax and there'll be peace. So from the time I was growing as a kid, even I got burned. My left leg was burned at one point because there was a bomb that happened and people ran to hide, and so I was forgotten, so I fell on the fire. And so the bike fell on me and I was just burning. So unless one of my aunties heard me crying terribly and they came and rescued me. And so there's been constant scars since that time. Like the war has been going on and I never thought it will end. Even now, like it looked like it has ended. It's much better now than before because I could find some of my family members, I could call home, I could travel freely back home and back without fear like before. And seeing everything that we own disappear and seeing what war has done. War destroys people's soul. Any person who has experienced war and then you go to a peaceful place, you will experience peace physically. Probably you may not hear bombs, but now when you go back to sleep, it's like the whole game play itself again. Everything comes back. So if you look at the experience of war, I left home when I was 7 and was told I'm going to school in Ethiopia. So we happened to go to school and I was trained and I became a child soldier. But imagine 6, 7 years old burying their own dead. A kid died, we have no adult with us. We have to make our own prayers, we have to bury them. And like going to a battlefield as a young person and you see how war can really confuse.
How did you become a war soldier, a child soldier?
I became one because I wanted to revenge for my family. We were given an opportunity to be trained. And some of us were really, really small, so they kept you in a reservation so you grow. And when you reach a certain age, then you can actually go to the battlefield. SPLA were more organized, the Sudan People Liberation Army that recruited child soldiers. We were not given drugs, but we were trained properly, like 6 to 9 months training like a normal soldier to get all the rules and to follow the orders.
So back then you chose to be a child soldier?
It was better that I chose to because one of my friends was trained before me and he didn't tell me that we're being trained. And so he told me it's a nice place, you go there, everything is good, and I was excited. And so I went, and what happened is in the forest, the soldiers or kids that were trained were they just coming out of the bush beating everybody. And all of us ran different directions. So what they do is they put anger in your body, so you get beaten and you get frustrated, you get mad for no reason. And it's like humbling you and creating confusion and to try to, that's the way they build you to become that robot that can only listen to commands. And it was a terrifying moment. One point I said, once I finish training, the first person I'll shoot is the guy who trained me because they were too horrible to us.
What did your parents say to you becoming a child soldier?
Well, in my culture, like my father gave me out hoping I'm going to go to school. But when they were child soldiers, I come from a tribe called the Nuer people. Kids were trained to go for the battles from the age of 13. So when you're 14 years old, you can actually go to the battles too in a cattle raid with other tribes. And so, and child soldiers have been in existence, but not this kind like from 7 years old, 8 years old, 10 and 12 years old. And I think what makes it easy is because an AK-47 is light, you know, so anybody can fire it.
But did you realize what you did? Maybe killing people or joining a war is wrong?
At that moment, you cannot think. Because if you don't know where your mother is, you're told your mother died, you've seen your village burn down, and there's constant bombing, and you've seen so many refugees, and you've seen your friends died beside you. So my desire is to kill as many Muslims and Arabs as possible. Even though when I was small, that's what was in my head until one general told me, it's not about Muslims and Arabs. He was trying to make me understand. And I couldn't get it, because there's one point they hired an Arab musician to come and play music to us, and all the soldiers were dancing, and I was confused because I didn't understand what was the war was really all about. But for me, I remember my village was burned down, and I wanted to kill Muslims and Arabs.
At which point did you decide to run away?
I didn't run away as to plan to run away. What happened, we're in a place called Juba, so soldiers planned an escape, and they did not tell me. And when I asked them later, they told me they couldn't tell me because I have a big mouth and I would got in trouble, and I'll go and tell everybody, hey, we're planning an escape, would you like to come?
But you finally escaped.
Yeah, we escaped. It was a terrible journey. We're 400 young people mixed with adults, and only 16 people survived the journey. On the way, minefields, starvation, thirst, and diseases. It was a terrible journey.
And you went to Kenya?
I didn't go to Kenya. I ended up in a refugee camp called Word, where I met a British aid worker called Emma McCune. And she rescued over 150 child soldiers. And so one of them was me. So she smuggled me into Kenya. So she took me into Kenya, hiding me in and out.
And you went to school in Kenya?
Yes, she put me in a good school. Yeah. But she later died, so she didn't continue the process. And my life went down again, and I tried to hustle again to come up.
War child is still a big problem today in Africa, I think. What would be your message to the world on this issue?
I think the world doesn't really want to solve the problem. The bigger players like the problem to be there because a lot of their friends benefit. So the smaller organizations seem to do things that change the world. And one of the things is what I came to discover what Rotary does is they train young people, or they source out young people who are doing great stuff, and they bring them together and support them in their mission. And I think that's the way forward. That's the way to make this world a better place. And entrepreneurs, supporting the entrepreneurs, or helping small businesses in small areas to rise. Because in the end, what is peace? Peace is when your belly is full. If you have an empty belly, you're gonna try to steal. It's a human instinct. It's communication. So if you see a prostitute on the road, they're communicating. It means I'm hungry. That's why I'm doing this. I'm desperate. That's why I'm doing this. You see cattle raiding. Why are they cattle raiding? It's impossible to find a rich person who has food, or I wouldn't say rich person, anybody whose belly is full, who's not worried and has a family, to take a gun and go on straight to try to go and get more. It'll be difficult.